Hello, football fans. Welcome back to week 5 of the 2023 season for the Scuffed Football Podcast. This is Noah. I'm Ted. We're here again. Lots to talk about this week. We talked a little while last week about having 3 unbeaten teams left. We're down to 2. So I guess the easiest place to start for these teams is to talk about San Francisco. Both of us kind of chalked it up last week that they're really fucking good. The one thing that I know that we talked about at the beginning of the season was the possibility that, like, their quarterback room got shaken up a lot. Brock Purdy only really had 8 games under his belt. Purdy looks pretty good, and he doesn't need to because McCaffrey scored 4 touchdowns yesterday. If Brock Purdy was bad, they could hide him. I don't see any weaknesses in San Francisco's game, man. I really think they're going to keep this going for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree. Obviously, I texted you this morning, and I was kind of like, well, that's the problem with Purdy. You know, they don't need him to throw because we witnessed McCaffrey just absolutely torch that the Cardinals, which was surprising. But, dude, they're just too OP, I feel like. There's so many offensive weapons that they could just go to. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. Like, I agree. I still think they're going to be probably the best team to beat. Again, strength test, though. It was the Cardinals after all. I mean, the Cardinals did just beat the Cowboys, but there's still that talent there that they're missing on the Cardinals. So I wouldn't go, just full blown. They're going to go undefeated, but they're definitely on their way.
Well, it's wild to me because, like, looking through their schedule, I don't know who stops them, right? Like, 4 games in, right? I think Kittle has, 8 catches on the year? The idea, he's a top 5 tight end in the league in talent and ability. Maybe even top 2, depending on how you're ranking him, right? And the fact that they don't need to go to him because he's the 4th best option on that team. The defense looks super stout. The running game is there. The passing game is there. The play calling's fantastic. Like, I just don't know, like, who I can realistically, as much as I would love to say that, like, yep, the Eagles could do it. Yeah, the Bills could do it. The Dolphins could do it. The Cowboys could, right? Like, I'd still taking San Francisco if my money's on the line, and I don't think I'm thinking twice about it. They're just really good everywhere. But
I don't know.
I think that brings us to the other 2 teams who were undefeated going into the week, both of whom struggled pretty greatly. I'm just going to let you have the floor and talk Bills Dolphins. You watched the whole thing intently, so I'm just going to let you have a piece of the Dolphins.
Oh, I've been waiting because I love how so much can change in a week. Obviously, we saw him put up 70. Everyone was, ready to be like, oh my God, Dolphins are the team to beat, and then, again, first 3 drives, it was exactly what I expected. Both teams scored. I thought it was kind of going to go back and forth the entire time, and then the Dolphins kind of just stalled against our defense, and dude, we exploded offensively. I am so happy. I was, again, we hadn't seen, Diggs had 1 touchdown coming in. Obviously, he's been involved in the passing game, but dude, 6 receptions for 120 yards for 3 tutties. That's it. That's all he needed. That is absurd to me. I mean, like, again, McCaffrey can do his own thing over there, whatever. But, like, on this side, that is absurd to me. That is incredible. Obviously, Josh Allen had 5 tutties as well. Dude, I think our defense was starting to click. Obviously, it's a big loss to lose Tre'Davious White. But our offense was clicking, man. And I'm just so happy that we beat the Dolphins. It's a great feeling. Again, I think, coming into the season, we were ready to say, again, like, Dolphins were up there. But I think until the Dolphins can really consistently beat the Bills, I think Bills are still the team to beat in that division. So I was very happy. That's all I need to say.
Watching this game, I was impressed with the Bills defense. Like, I feel like we haven't seen a lot of that this year where they're, a big stout powerhouse that you have to work your way through. So I was excited to see that that's still there. Because that was a question mark, to be honest. But I think my big takeaway from this game is not honestly that the Bills are that much better than the Dolphins. Like, obviously they well outperformed them, like, But there were a handful of times in this game where I was thinking like, yeah, Miami's losing by 2 or 3 scores, and I don't think less of them than I did last week. So I think about the first Diggs touchdown. He broke the tackle on the sideline and just had all the rest of the field, right? One tackle means that they still have 60 yards to go, but like to score, right? Like, sure, they took 6 on that play, but like, one, if they had secured that tackle, that's a whole lot different, right? You can coach in that one tackle and make that game look a whole lot different. I thought there were 2 scores that easily came off the board, not to say that the Bills wouldn't have continued to march down the field and score later on, right? But like, I think the dynamic of that game changes a lot when it's something simple like tackling that you have to fix. Like, I still think the Dolphins are really good. And to be honest, like, I didn't think the Dolphins offense performed that badly. I was more impressed with the Bills defense than I was disappointed in the Dolphins offense. That like, they may have now have a loss, but I still think the Dolphins are scary. Like, after watching them play, I'm kind of with you that I think that like I would probably pick the Bills to win the division from here. Like, they played such a secure, confident game. But I still don't think like they should count out the Dolphins just because they beat them like this. Like, I'll be interested to see their second game of the season for sure.
I mean, and that one will be in, Miami, so we'll see, home field and all that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Again, it was 70 points against the Broncos versus this. This is what we talked about. This was the first strength test for both teams. Again, I agree. I don't think it was necessarily their offense because they still put up 20. They still looked pretty good in their first few drives. I think it was just our defense standing tall. But no, I wouldn't count them out. Obviously, I know they're on our heels, but for right now, I feel good knowing we beat them by 28 points. So
the other thing too is that like, after their first couple of drives, they didn't really get the opportunity to involve their run game. Like, I didn't hear Shane's name called at all. Mostert, I think, only had 9 carries. Like, I think it's really tough when you're the Dolphins. Like, if you know that you're down by 14, 20 points, right? That like you kind of have to throw the ball and catch up against a team like the Bills, who are pretty good on offense and have the ability to score again. Like, I think it's interesting how playing from a deficit really changed the Dolphins' play calling. Like, I found that pretty interesting, and I think it makes a huge difference that like they get early leads moving on through the season. The other team to obviously talk about going undefeated into this week was the Eagles. This game hurt me to watch. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't want to blame officiating. I know that there were a couple of questionable calls, but the Eagles oftentimes did it to themselves, and penalties in bad places that I think, much like the Dolphins, are fixable, right? There are things that you can coach out. But I watched the Eagles' offensive line struggle. I saw the Commanders' play calling work in a way that they always had at least one receiver wide open. Sam Howell got to cook all day long because there was always an open receiver. I think it really exposed some weaknesses in the Eagles' defense that maybe they shouldn't be as threatening to the NFC as we may have expected coming into the year.
I mean, again, we've talked about how they haven't been clicking on all cylinders. This isn't the same Eagles team we saw last year. Yeah, this game, God, like, it was fun to watch for me because I'm not an Eagles fan, Sure. I was not stressing.
I was angry the whole damn time.
But again, I gotta say, yeah, I think it's a little worrying to see them be that close in a game that we both thought they probably could have handled, pretty easily. I'll be interested to see how they're moving forward with that. I mean, again, I still think they're a pretty great team. Obviously, if they clean up some of the stuff that they made mistakes on, then we could see that same Eagles team we saw last year. But again, yeah, that was pretty. That was a good game to watch, though.
Yeah, I also want to give credit to the Commanders too. Like, the one, my big takeaway was honestly that the Commanders' play calling was really good. They built an offense that was designed to pick apart the Eagles' defense, and it worked. Like, genuinely, they always had the open receiver. They had guys, they were splitting guys left, right, and sideways to make sure that there was always an open receiver. They moved players around in the backfield and across the field to make sure that like they could read defenses. Like, I thought the Commanders were just super well put together. I haven't watched many of their games yet this season. I just kind of, even when they were 2-1, I kind of chalked it up to like, well, I mean, a couple fluke wins here, but they're still the Commanders, and I can just let it go. But I mean, if their play calling stays this good and they can remain competitive against teams like the Eagles, like that's a decent team.
Well, I mean, again, even coming into this week, they put up 3 points against the Bills, so I was not expecting anywhere close to this. I thought, okay, Eagles got this one. But yeah, no, I agree. They put it together, a really good game for them. I was not expecting it. I got to give props to them.
Absolutely. I think the other team to give props to this week is the as weird as it is to say that at this point of the season, is the New York Jets. I definitely want to get to this Chiefs-Jets game. So watching this game was incredibly boring. I'm going to be honest. I didn't focus on it through the first half because it was just boring-ass Sunday Night Football, and it was the only game on. But the Jets made a game of this thing. I thought their defense holding the Chiefs to 23 points is already amazing enough as it is. But the idea that they put up the 20 points to be able to compete with how well their defense played is what they were missing winning games last year. What do we make of the Jets at this point? I mean, obviously that we're down on expectations because of Rodgers. We still have question marks at quarterback because Zach Wilson's kind of a bum. But I mean, this kind of game has to give you some sort of hope, right? That they can do something.
I mean, in a sense, I'll give, first of all, yes, I agree. We got to give props to the Jets for making a game out of this. But at this point in the season, losing these close games are really going to hurt them come, playoff time. They might not even get a wild card spot. And I mean, obviously that's what Aaron Rodgers wants to come back for playoffs, but he can't even come back if they're not even going to be in it. They got to find a way to kind of close out these games. And again, I know that call on Sauce was just something else. Their defense was able to their defense was able to shut down the Chiefs in the second half there. But I mean, again, I still am a hater on the Jets, so you can't really ask me to be unbiased here, But again, they're one. I don't know. It's still the Jets. I'm glad they put up a fight against the Chiefs. Chiefs looked really weak in the second half. I was very surprised by that. Again, it was a different team, I felt like.
Yeah, it's weird to see them with so much resolve and to be making it so competitive when I think once Zach Wilson was at the helm and the team was ready to give up on him a week after playing, that I don't know. It's weird to see them so tight and compete. And I'll be interested to see if they can actually turn some of these close games into wins. I mean, yes, we're a quarter of the way through the season, but even if you look at the standings, they're 2 games out of it, right? We watched the Bills lose a dumb game week 1. Obviously, the Dolphins are fallible. They can lose to a good defense, right? It's not impossible to catch up. And if the wild card is 1 game out of reach, right? That just takes one of these close games, beat the Chargers in a late season game, right? And suddenly that makes the difference if everybody's within a game at this point in time. It's not impossible. I guess I didn't expect this once Rodgers went out. It is kind of bizarre to me. I didn't think this game would be close.
Agreed.
Speaking of expectations, though, we are a quarter of the way through the season. I kind of want to go over things that we've learned, right? For the past couple of weeks, we've been able to talk about it's still early. There's a lot of time. And of course there is, but we've gotten a significant chunk of the way through the season. So wrote some notes about things that maybe we expected, maybe we didn't expect. I think one of the things that we may have seen coming is the leaders of each conference, right? I think pretty confidently before the beginning of the season, we could say that the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys were all going to be towards the top of the NFC. Similarly, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Chiefs were going to be up there in the AFC. Maybe somebody, might have also picked the Bengals, but we'll talk about them in a little bit.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I think was also kind of expected was that there's a million teams in the middle, right? We talked about this a bit last year, that there weren't a whole lot of teams that were well above and beyond super powerhouse that are going to beat everybody. There also weren't a lot of teams that were bottom of the barrel, never going to win a game, 0-17, right? And there's a million teams at 2-2. And maybe even some teams that you wouldn't have counted there, but that are still absolutely in the mix. The Rams, the Packers, the Falcons, the Commanders. Certainly for me, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, I didn't expect either one of those teams to be 2-2. Like, for better or for worse, like I didn't expect them to be there. Shit, the entire AFC South is all 2-2. All 4 teams are right there in the middle. I think it makes for like a super fun and competitive football season to see so many teams so close together.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes all those division games worth so much more, obviously. Yeah, I mean, we thought that the AFC South was going to be terrible to watch. And I mean, they're all, like you said, they're all 2-2. I mean, they all have surprise games. They've all, lost some. So I'd say for me, I mean, damn, I did not see the Texans being 2-2 right now. Man, what the hell is going on, dude?
Big props to CJ Stroud. That dude, I didn't think he'd be this ready this early. Like, I was high on Stroud, and I didn't think he'd be that good that early. Goddamn. Some more unexpected things, though, because I think those are more notable. There's a handful of things that I don't think anybody had on their, on their bingo board this year. And like I mentioned, the Bengals are bad. Like, actively bad. We kind of brought up the beginning of last season, this time last year, that the Bengals Super Bowl run the year before was a whole lot of close games. That, like, they had 17 games or something that were within one score, right? And in a 20-game season to get to the Super Bowl, like, that's pretty notable. Last year, we saw their first couple of games that were close. This year, they're not close. It's not like they're one bounce away from winning these games, and they're just not striking the luck this year that they were last year. Burrow looks like he's struggling in the pocket. Because of that, the receivers aren't getting involved. When they're playing down, Joe Mixon and the run game don't get involved. The defense is still massively suspect and can't seem to stop anything. Like, the Bengals are actively bad, and I don't know that anybody saw this one coming like this.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously, to some extent, I think Burrow's, injury is hindering him, obviously. We're not seeing, him at 100%, and he keeps saying, like, being down this much, like 1-3, last week he was saying 0-3 would be bad, or and then he was just saying he had to play. Dude, I don't know, man. Do you keep your franchise quarterback out there and risk more injury just to, like, they're not even doing anything though. That's the thing, staying out there. They scored 3 points against the Titans, who haven't been like that good this season. No. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I find it super fascinating that, like, I know that there's something to be said about it's healthy enough to play on, so he's healthy, right? Like, football, you're going to hurt all the time, and I get it, right? Like, I'm not here to talk shit on Joe Burrow's injury, but I also understand that, like, if he's not mobile, he loses half of his game. So many times you watched him, like, not necessarily his ability to take off and run with it, although that's valuable, right? It's just his ability to get out of the pocket, buy himself more time when he's got some really good receivers. And it doesn't look like he's able to do that just on that ankle. And the weird part is, you mentioned that, like, do you put your franchise quarterback out there? But don't you kind of have to as the Bengals? Like, they're going to lose so many contracts. When you pay Burrow that kind of money, right? You can't keep Chase forever. You can't keep T. Higgins forever. There's defensive pieces that you won't be able to keep forever because Burrow's making so much. Like, you only have so big a window to do it at this point in time. And who's their backup quarterback? I know he's some undrafted, like, scrub. I don't even know the dude's name. Like, I guess it's just, to me, like, you kind of have to keep him out there, right? Like, if you want to, I mean, imagine how bad this could potentially be. Like, would they even have those 3 points if there was some nobody as the backup quarterback, right? If you can't afford to lose him for 2 weeks because you need to remain somewhat competitive, right? Like, yeah, you're risking injury and a lot worse things down the road, but, like, they really don't have a window after the next year or two.
Right, but I mean, at the same time, I think if they were in the games that they were, it would make sense and it would be valuable. Like, okay, we can keep Joe Burrow out. But, dude, this is the second time they've just scored 3 points. They did it in week 1, and now they're doing it in week 4. Like, at a certain point, I feel like you kind of just have to maybe give him a week off. Maybe let him actually rest. Like, I know it's not ideal, but you can still make it back from 1-4. If you went out, Joe Burrow starts playing offensively and great again, but dude, I don't know.
Well, and the interesting thing is that, like you said, give him a week off, right? Like, I think the time to do that would have been this past week against the Titans, right? Like, it's a game that you could probably afford to lose. Your next couple of weeks are against the Cardinals and the Seahawks, and then you've got a bye, right? Before you go up against the 49ers. At this point, like, if you sit him against the Cardinals, right? It might be a winnable game if you're down on the Cardinals, right? But I don't think it's as free as you'd expect it to be. If he comes back and plays against the Seahawks to then just get another week off, like, why'd you even put him in for that 1 week against the Seahawks, right? Like, and then, you know, how much are you compromising his health with playing anything at all before a team like the 49ers to, like, as a strength test, maybe, you know? Like, it's just such a weird spot that, like, is it even too late to sit him because they've played him the past couple of weeks? Like, it's just such a bizarre spot.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do. I have no idea.
That's why I'm happy I don't run a team. I also kind of want to talk about two teams that we thought would be pretty good and maybe we're a little lower on. They're obviously in very different places, but the Jags, we kind of expected to make some noise in their division because the AFC South is doomed to be bad forever. But they look like they're underperforming. They just can't seem to get their offense to click after week one. And the Chiefs, I know they're still winning. They're 3-1, but they also don't look nearly as explosive as they have for the past 6 years. They just don't look like they're firing on all cylinders. And maybe that top edge is coming back down towards the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we always saw as, you know, the Chiefs were the highest, you know, on that pedestal. And I don't know. You can never count Patrick Mahomes out. That's what I keep saying, as much as I'd love to. I mean, I expect them to bounce back. They'll find their groove eventually, I presume. But again, yeah, I agree. They're not the offensive juggernaut that they once were last season. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and the Jags, man, like I thought adding a piece like Calvin Ridley, you know, like would just open so many doors for their offense. And week one, I thought that everything I expected was confirmed. Does Ridley have a catch in the past 3 weeks? Like since week one, has he touched the football?
I think he's only touched it like 6 times, I think was the stat. But like, agreed. I think, I don't know. I expected the Jags to play a lot better, obviously. And you know, being 2-2, I didn't expect them to be this low. But God, dude, I don't know. There's a lot of teams underperforming right now. So
alternatively, we got to talk about Baker and the Bucks. I think in our Super Bowl episode last year, we were talking about Baker and the Buccaneers and you know, if he was going to have a career or what the Bucks were going to do for the future. But like, he's playing really good football, like really good football. The Bucks look good and their division is super weak, very easily winnable. Like I'm pretty high on the Bucks when I didn't expect to be.
Yeah, I'll give some. I apologize for ever talking shit on Baker, you know. But no, I agree. The Bucks are good. I watched a little bit of the game. You know, just Chris Godwin looked pretty good. Mike Evans was looking pretty good. Like their offense was clicking. He wasn't like Baker wasn't throwing, you know, 4 picks and he only threw 1. So I was, you know, pleasantly surprised. But no, I agree. I think in that division, I think the Bucks are going to run away with this one, but I think that's just because of their strength of their division. Again, I don't know. Again, strength test. I don't know how well the Bucks would match up against, you know, the Rams, even like the surprising Rams, you know, with their defense that good, you know, the Niners with their defense and offense. Like, I think we need to see that. But I will say I'm pleasantly surprised in the first 4 weeks of football with them.
Yeah, I don't think they're Super Bowl expectations by any means in Tampa, but like I also think that they were ready to like get a pretty decent draft pick and not be competitive this year. Like I'd be pretty excited to be 3-1 for them at this point. Yeah. The other thing, the last point I want to get to here with maybe some things we didn't expect is the Bears. I don't know that anybody picked the Bears to win the division, right? Like I don't know that there were Super Bowl hopes here, but I think that there were, especially at the end of last season, right? We saw a lot from Justin Fields that kept them in games. Sure, they lost a bunch of them. They still got a, you know, very high draft pick, right? But like we saw some things that were promising for the Bears. They went and they added a couple of receivers. They, you know, solidified a few things like, and now they're still bad. Like what do you do? Like what more do they need before they can make it look like they're actually ready to play football?
I mean, I was ready to just be like, Bears have been bad. I mean, obviously the past 3 weeks have shown that they are bad. But I mean, Justin Fields had a great day, and I mean a great day. I was not expecting him to have 4 tutties and over 300 passing yards. Obviously we think of Justin Fields. He's a scrambler. He's a rusher. I mean, in a sense, I think it was offensively, this was the first time I think that we saw the Bears click.
Sure.
But defensively, I mean, obviously it was the Broncos, man. It was the battle. Obviously, it was the battle of someone had to win. But dude, I was kind of heartbroken because I really wanted Justin Fields. He played his heart out. It was rather unfortunate that he got that, last second pick. But
and and two that we watched we chalked it up last week to the Dolphins scoring 70 was that it's the Broncos defense is so bad, right? And even as you say, the Bears felt like they clicked on offense. Does it really take playing the Broncos to feel like you have an offense? I just I don't even know that I can confidently say okay, the pieces are working. They'll be more competitive next week, right? I don't even know that I can take that away for their next game. I don't feel good that they can walk into Washington on Thursday this week and feel the same kind of way about their offense as I did in Denver. Something just feels off, and I can't put my finger on it. I was ready for this team to be something more than they are.
Well, they're not.
Primo analysis. All right. I'd love to talk to you guys about fantasy this week, but really we had not a whole lot to bring up. Nothing new or exciting. Bunch of players with good weeks. Congrats if you had AJ Brown. I hate you. But we're just going to pass right over that, get straight on into the gambling. So last week, we both had pretty mediocre weeks. Noah went 8-8. I went 9-7. That brings us to 26-21-1 and 28-19-1. So still keeping things close. Not a great year, but, better than last year at this point in time, I'll be honest.
No, we'll take it,
Yeah, man. So I'm looking here. This time last year, I was 14-34, and now I'm 28-19. Right? This is a whole different year. We're doing so much better. This week, lines are provided by FanDuel as of Tuesday. They are subject to change by game time. Please gamble responsibly. Remember that we're not providing gambling advice, solely providing our picks. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's start with Thursday's game. I got Chicago at Washington. Washington are 6.5 favorites.
I'm going Commanders here. I like that spread. I mean, I don't think the Bears are going to keep it that close. Again, well, we just said, do you have to play the Broncos just to feel good on offense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Commanders.
I'm with you. I think 6.5 is a pretty good line. That really could go either way for me, but Washington looked so good last week. Chicago played Denver. All right, I got the Jaguars at the Bills. Buffalo's 5.5 favorites at home.
I'm going Bills. Yeah.
Hard for me to not take them this week. Like I said, Jacksonville's been underperforming, and Buffalo's defense really felt together last week. So I have Houston at Atlanta. Falcons are 1.5 favorites at home. This is a sneaky one, man. I think I want Houston. I think I really want to buy into CJ Stroud. Atlanta's been okay, don't get me wrong, but man, CJ Stroud looks good. Their offense looks like it's working. I'm going to take Houston.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to fade you, I think the correct choice here is the Texans as well. So yeah, I'm going Texans.
All right, this is one hell of a line I never thought I would say out loud. Carolina and Detroit, the Lions are 8.5 favorites. The Lions are 8.5 favorites. It's not a sentence I thought I would ever utter.
I mean, we gotta go, right? Lions have just looked pretty good, to be honest. They're a surprise team. Obviously we thought they were gonna be in games. I expected them to be 1-3, but they're 3-1. So I mean, I'm gonna go Detroit here.
I'm going to fade you and take Carolina only because it's 8.5. Like, I think Detroit is a significantly better team, but it's so hard to win by multiple scores. And Detroit's good, don't get me wrong. I think they're the better team here, and I don't think it's close, but 8.5 scares me a little, I'll be honest.
No worries.
I've got the Titans and the Colts. Indy is 1.5 favorites at home. I hate that this game matters. Like, I'm going to turn this game on, and I'm going to be upset at myself. I hate that their division is so close. I'll take the Titans. They finally used Derrick Henry. Like, I have to believe that they're smart enough to do that again. I'll take the Titans.
I'll go Colts here. I mean, they've looked decent this year. Yeah, I'll go Colts.
Jonathan Taylor coming back helps too, I'll be honest, but Derrick Henry I'm
not even so high on Jonathan Taylor playing. I mean, I hear that he's coming back and he's excited, but again, I don't know about that.
There are enough question marks there, but he's got to be better than anybody running the ball now. All right, I got the Giants and the Dolphins. Miami is 10.5 favorites at home. I hate big lines, but Miami is so much better than the Giants, dude. I'm taking the Dolphins.
I mean, did you see the Giants' offensive line last night? I mean, I'm so happy I had the Seahawks defense. But yeah, I gotta go Dolphins here.
All right, I have Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Ravens are 3.5 favorites on the road. For me, Baltimore's good. They're quiet, but they're really good. I don't think Pittsburgh's that good. I'm on the Ravens.
Oh, God, dude. I know I got to fade you at some point, but right now, it's Ravens.
All right, I got the Saints at the Patriots. New England is 1.5 favorites at home.
Oh, God. I'm actually going to go Saints here. I think they're better than the Patriots, so...
I'm with you. I think Derek Carr has been okay for the first half of football games all season, and I don't think New England is good enough to come back from even one half of good football. So, all right, I have Bengals, Cardinals. Bengals are 3-point favorites on the road. I'll tell you what, I'll take whichever one you don't take this week, because honestly, I have reasons to pick both of them.
That's what I was going to do for this one.
All right, bet. If that's the case, I'll take Arizona. I think Dobbs looks pretty good. Cincinnati obviously still has their struggles. Like you and I said, like maybe it's time to sit Burrow for a week because everything's fucking goofy and he needs to heal from that ankle, right? Like, I think Arizona has all the pieces to win this game.
Yeah, if you want to make money, go with Ted's pick, and I agree with Ted's pick, but I'll go Bengals just to fade you.
All right, I got the Eagles and the Rams. Eagles are 4.5 favorites on the road. I'm at the point in the year where like I definitely don't want to pick the Eagles anymore because they keep scaring me. But 4.5 feels good enough that I'll take the Eagles.
This is when I'm confident in saying Rams here. I actually really like the Rams on this one.
Okay. I think McVay has the ability to do what Washington did to the Eagles last week, that it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the Rams win this game. But I think on paper, Philly's a better team. Like it's hard for me to pick against them, but I really don't like it because I thought they beat the Commanders by more than 3 points in overtime too. I have Chiefs and Vikings. Chiefs are 5.5 favorites on the road. Again, I think I could go either way on this one, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, at home, I'll take Vikings. Fuck it.
I'll take Kansas City then. Just we got to get some different picks in somewhere. But Minnesota has the ability to score. Kansas City didn't look that prolific last week. Like I think 5.5 is doable. I don't know. I got Jets and the Broncos. Broncos are 2.5 favorites at home. If there's ever...
I'm just taking whatever one you're not taking.
All right.
This one I don't care about.
I'm taking the Jets. If there's ever been a week for Zach Wilson to have his shit together, look competent, and have that offense scoring points, dude, it's against the goddamn Broncos defense.
Yeah, I'll pick Broncos for this one.
All right. Sunday night's game should be a pretty good one. We got Dallas and San Francisco. Niners are 3.5 favorites. San Fran for me. 3.5 is too close. They're way too fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were asking though. We wanted a strength test. At home, I think Niners show up. Yeah, I'll take Niners.
All right, and then Monday night I have Green Bay at the Raiders. Green Bay is a 1.5 favorite on the road. I just don't know what to do with either one of these teams, to be honest with you. Like I'll take Green Bay, but I don't feel good putting money on either one of these teams feels like a bad life choice.
Yeah, I'll go Raiders just cause, but yeah, I wouldn't put money on this one.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for this week. Hopefully we get some more exciting football this upcoming week rather than the kind of boring blowouts we got all weekend this past week. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you here next week.